What's up, you guys? This is Rob from Plays, and today on the Snapshot, we are saving up our loads for one big smash when we take a look at the Arca Titron. Listen, Titron, Titron, or hell, even Triton, regardless of how you want to pronounce this, you can pick up its blueprint in the market for 30,000 credits. Just do be aware it does require Mastery Rank 10 to craft. Now, if you're not up there with the big boys quite yet, you can always pick this up in the market pre-built along with the weapon slot and catalyst for 180 plat. Just do be aware that it is also included in the Arca bundle for 550. Go ahead and take a look at all of the offerings there and see if it's worth your plat. Now, the Titron is a very interesting corpus themed hammer. While it is primarily impact based, the only other physical damage type attached to it is slash, making for a much tighter status effect pool to trigger from. This pairs extremely well with its 38% status chance, which easily hits 98.8% using 2 status elemental mods. Coupled with a 24% critical chance and a 2x critical multiplier, its supplemental stats almost make up for its painfully slow 0.733 attack speed. Almost. Now, while that's all well and good, it does have a very interesting built-in effect. Every enemy slain using the Titron charges up its slam capacitor up to a maximum of 10 stacks. Each stack increases the damage of ground slams by 100%, and the charge lasts 20 seconds. Upon expiration, all stacks are cleared from the capacitor. In addition, be aware that certain melee combos such as Crushing Ruins, Shattered Village, and Raging Whirlwind will actually trigger ground slams at the end of their combo, consuming all stacks. Now, as for the build, I've been playing around with this one a whole lot and paying very close attention to my hits to kill, and there's a big reason for that. There are a couple mods that actually perform very similarly when it comes to hits to kill. However, you go about it in very different ways. Sometimes RNG loves you, sometimes RNG hates you. Regardless, at its core, this is a hybrid crit and status build using Blood Rush and Condition Overload. Now, let's go ahead and jump into one of those mods of contention. So as you can see, I am sporting a Berserker here, and that's mainly because of the fact that a 0.733 attack speed is so freaking painful, and Berserker works well when the Arca Titron is going to be your main source of damage. If you're going to be building up stacks over and over and over again, you're going to be just fine maintaining that 75% attack speed, which is very nice and kind of like needed on a weapon like this. However, if the Arca Titron is not going to be your main source of damage and you're just going to kind of like swing it around occasionally, go ahead and start off with the Prime Fury because you'll have a faster startup with an initial 55% attack speed, right? It's just straight out of the gate, you can go ahead and jump into the smashing. Now, the other thing that I want to chat about is the inclusion of Buzzkill. Now, usually with weapons that don't necessarily have a huge amount of slash in them, I tend to go for something like Corrosive. However, I was noticing that even though my hits to kill was very consistent using Corrosive, at the same time, there were some things that were happening behind the scenes using the crit damage and the crit multiplier that were kind of like, ooh, that's really nice. So I actually ended up going with a viral and slash build with this. Now, using Buzzkill actually gives you more kind of like consistency because you get more slash procs on it because you're actually ending up prioritizing slash just a little bit more than impact. So you'll get a few more slash procs than you would using Organ Shatter. Now, Organ Shatter is fantastic because when you do get a slash proc and you are using it with that critical multiplier, you can do a shit ton of damage very, very shortly. So what you'll actually see is when Organ Shatter triggers, you know, if you get that crit, crit off of a slash proc, it just eats away at an enemy very, very, very fast, but sometimes it takes a while for those two to kind of link up. That's why I actually ended up going with Buzzkill for my primary build, mainly because of the fact that it's got a little bit more consistency. Now, we're going to use both, but we're going to start off with Buzzkill and let's see how it performs. Alright, now as you can see here, I've actually swapped over from Hydroid over to Necros, mainly because of the fact that Hydroid's tentacles kept getting in the way of my demonstration. And the one thing that I wanted to point out that I didn't actually mention in the scripted portion of my review was the fact that ground slams actually proc on electricity proc. God, that's so redundant, but you know, that's exactly what it is. And that actually pairs extremely well when it comes to Condition Overload because of the fact that this thing has a 98.8% chance to do a status. You're definitely going to get a lot of status stacks when it comes down to it, so having that extra electricity proc that isn't attached to a mod specifically in your build works out very well when it comes to stacking all of those conditions to boost up the base damage of this weapon. I'm really actually been fond of the fact that DE has been playing around with shifting around IPS and not necessarily including all three of them, so that we get kind of like a very controlled pool to pull our statuses from. And that's actually working to our benefit here because of the fact that, yes, even though this is primarily an impact weapon, because of the fact that it has such a small pool of statuses to pull from, just 3 actually. We've got viral, we have impact, and we have slash. We have a good chance of pulling out that slash, and because of the fact that we're using Buzzkill to kind of sway the base IPS of this weapon, or the base, I guess you would say, IS of this weapon, to swing a little bit more into slash, we're getting fairly consistent slash procs. And I actually really like that for bypassing a whole lot of armor, and when they team up with the odd critical chance that actually occurs when we've got the Blood Rush on, it actually makes for some really nice chunky armor bypassing finishing damage. Now let's go ahead and take a look at how this performs with Organ Shatter. So Buzzkill is out and Organ Shatter is in. Now the main reason that I wanted to show off this variation is because of the fact that it's a little bit more RNG based, and this works quite well when you get a slash proc and a critical to go off at the same time. It literally just bypasses a whole bunch of enemy armor and starts eating away at the health absolutely insanely. However, the fact that we took Buzzkill out actually swings the base IPS of this more over to impact, so you're getting less of a chance to proc that slash. However, if it pairs up quite well with your crits, this can deal a nice chunk of damage because your crit is doing a lot more damage than it actually was prior because of Organ Shatter. Now, the other thing that I do want to point out with this variation of the build that's actually quite nice is because of the fact that you've got Organ Shatter in, that you're going to be doing a nice chunk more damage on your crits, which works quite well when you're just playing around in the star chart. So anything from like Sword T level 2 down, and I'm definitely leaning towards the Organ Shatter variation of this, as opposed to the Buzzkill variation of this. However, if you need more consistency when it comes to your slash procs, you definitely want to go with Buzzkill more than you want to go with Organ Shatter, and that really only appears when you end up getting into later levels, right? Now, there is value in both variations, but again, if RNG is on your side, you can literally take down a Bombard in just a couple swings, as long as your critical chance and your status chance all line up and make a pure, beautiful slash-based crit baby. It's absolutely fantastic, but when you don't get those crits, that's when it hurts a little bit. Alright, so this last build I wanted to go ahead and show off. I think it's a little bit more of a for fun build, but maybe you could kind of like use it at mid-range. I do need to alert you guys that due to the fact that I have paused the AI on these enemies, they will be experiencing stealth multipliers. You're going to see a lot bigger damage numbers than you probably would in standard play, and we're also going to be using butchers for this, just mainly because of the fact that they take a bit more damage and they're easier to take down, because I want to show you how this all works. So now, with the normal slam attack from the Titron, what actually happens is you need to be in a 3-meter range for, you know, the hammer to deal its damage. However, when you've got Primed Reach equipped, so I've swapped out Buzzkill and Organ Shatter, and now I've put on Primed Reach in both of their places, you can actually get within a 7-meter range of your enemies and deal your slam attack, which is pretty much like your fucking full damage slam attack, which can result in some hilarious things, like just dealing insane amounts of damage to entire groups of enemies. Of course, as I said, this is stealth multipliers, but I want you to imagine this on some lower end enemies, right? Because that is pretty fucking hilarious when you can play around with that. I'm actually going to go ahead and unpause them so that you can kind of see it more in action against enemies that aren't experiencing the stealth multiplier and do want to very much kill you. Because innately, straight out of the gate, so this isn't with Primed Reach or anything added to this, this actually has a 7-meter range for its ground slam electricity effect. So that's just the electricity effect. That's not actually the ground slam damage effect, because the electricity effect is has one specific radius, and then the ground slam damage from the actual attack itself has another set of damage. However, as you can see here against level 150 trash, it's not absolutely terrible. However, a part of me is like, I feel like I need a little bit more of a focused build in order for this to be absolutely insane, but it's still gonna be fun against trash level mobs, right? And you know, sometimes it's all you really need when you have weapons as powerful, because it's about just having a little bit of fun and being able to expend your charges to deal a lot of slash damage in that case is also quite an enjoyable experience, especially when you get a slam that deals a slash damage to a group of enemies and it's like a proc. Oh my god, it's definitely a glorious moment. So you can definitely have fun with this weapon, play around with this build, and see which one suits you the best in the specific areas that you play. So all in all, the Arca Triton is a whole lot of fun, whether you are using Buzzkill to turn this into a slash-based hammer, rolling the dice with Organ Shatter for your critical and status chances to match up, or unloading your capacitor on a large group of enemies with primed reach. This thing is fucking fantastic. It's like a breath of fresh air when it comes to the melee category because of the fact that we have all of these really powerful mods that you can pair up with these great weapons, but it turns into a whole lot of like slide and slash proc, which can be really repetitive and boring. Now we've got dual wielding with the cool timing based stuff, and then we've got like the mini game that comes along with the Titron. It's absolutely fantastic because you're like trying to rack up your kills, and it's like this mini game within the game, and you're like, okay, now I have 20 seconds to go run around and see if I can like knock out a big group of enemies using this big racked up mega slam. It's a ton of fun, and I think it's something that feels rewarding and feels engaging at the same time, which is definitely not something that you could say with some of the other kind of like meta melee weapons out there. So while I'm not going to say that this is the best of the best, it is definitely rewarding and engaging at the same time, which is something that we don't really have too much of within the category. But that about does it for the facts and figures. If you guys want to stick around for gameplay and a little bit more chat, stay tuned with that. Regardless, with the number stuff, it's all done, and a little bit more play and chat is coming up next. Alright, so I'm going to be completely honest with you. I didn't actually have to record any of this stuff, but I really wanted to do it simply for this specific combo because of the fact that you could go ahead and deal some crazy damage with the puddle. I've been missing this in my life, to be honest with you, and I'm super happy that we actually got this kind of weapon from DE. I think a lot of us, and especially the veteran players, get a little bit worried that, you know, DE is like, DE's running out of ideas and whatnot, and we're like, okay, well, what are we gonna see next? What could DE possibly come up with? So when you see weapons like this, it's really kind of like refreshing and exciting because you're like, oh shit, they've still got some tricks up their goddamn sleeves, and I'm super into it. And that's kind of like my current state of being when I see this this type of weapon, because it's like you're like, oh my god, it's refreshing, it's new, it's different. I won't say fixes the problems, you know, that we currently have, but it definitely kind of shows that they're paying attention to the fact that we do need something a little bit more refreshing and engaging, that we can have kind of, you know, a later game weapon, a more powerful weapon that's out there, but it doesn't necessarily need to be the same boring meta weapons. That's also kind of like one of the issues that I have, because a lot of people tend to fall into this, oh, you can only use the meta, you can only use the meta, but when you introduce a weapon like this, which is both fun and, I'm not going to say meta, but you know, it plays into the meta a little bit, where, you know, it's got the slash damage that we all know and love, and that we all know is like super powerful and whatnot, but you get to mix those two with this cool mechanic where you get like cool ground slams and whatnot, and you can kind of like combo that with other things that are out there, you know, whether you're using the really big range meld. Don't die. Don't die, don't die, don't die. Wait, you're not dead yet? I thought you should have been dead. You should have been dead already. No, not you. No, thank you. What? Alright, hold on. Let me get these people up real fast. But yeah, it's kind of like one of those things that I think is really cool because, you know, they're paying attention to what works for you know, late duration kind of gameplay, but at the same time they're also like, all right, how can we make it fun? And that's the one thing that I love about DE, is the fact that, you know, they're willing to take chances and do something a little bit different, like we saw with the Ballistica. I think or Ballistica Prime, that's one of the things that I was thinking of, is like, we already have the Rock the Ballistica, which is really fucking good. Like, what are they gonna do that is gonna make this weapon interesting? Oh yeah, we have fucking ghosts. So I mean, if you think about it, now we have a weapon that, you know, you can use in a lot of different ways, whether you want to charge it up and turn it into this big crazy like charge hammer, or whether you want to do you want to turn it into a slashing hammer. You have all of those different options, and it's hilarious that we get to have that, and that's something that I absolutely love when it comes to DE's creativity. And I know, like, DE gets a lot of flack. They're like, this could have been better, that could have been better. But at the same time, if you let DE do what DE does, if you just kind of give them a little bit of free reign, they come up with shit like this hammer. They come up with, whoa, where am I going? They come up with shit like this hammer. They come up with the pistols that we recently got. You know, it gives them a lot of free reign, and when you have that kind of ability to be creative, you can come up with some very, very interesting things. And I think that this Corpus bundle was a great reflection of that, right? You know, nobody knew what was coming. You know, nobody knew what was coming with this bundle, but, you know, we let DE be DE, and when they do DE things, it shows that they are a capable company of not only paying attention to what makes a weapon good, but at the same time, what also makes a weapon engaging and rewarding, right? Because so many times, like, you know, I'm throwing some shade at, like, the Atarax users out there. That's fantastic. You know, that's fun. You know, do whatever makes your life great, and, you know, I'm not judging you, but what I am saying is, you know, maybe you should try this with Mirage, right? I'm just putting that out into the universe. It's kind of like, let's find different ways to have fun in the game, but still be effective at the same time. Because, you know, if we're just using the meta things over and over and over again, it can get quite boring, especially for somebody who's played this game for, let's take a quick look. How long have I played this game? Now, keep in mind, the numbers shown here are in mission time. This is not like sitting around in your, this is not sitting around in your orbiter. This isn't like doing fashion frame. This isn't researching builds. This is actually how much time I've spent playing in missions. That's why it's called time played. So 4.2k hours in game. And DE still manages to do surprising things like they did with the Arca set, and I love it. So I can't wait to see what's coming up in the future. Let me know how you guys feel about this weapon. Let me know what you're going to try to do with it. Are you going to try to make it a slashing hammer? Are you going to roll the dice on all of those crit stats and whatnot? Or are you just going to do a whole bunch of smashing with Prime Breach? You let me know in the comments below. And that about does it for me. So as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. I will chat with you guys soon. Bye-bye.